Hello, I am so glad to be here with you all. We are going to be talking about number paths and number lines. Oh my! I am super excited to do this session because I've been wanting to talk about number paths and number lines. So many people use number paths and number lines. It's in all of our standards. Only about three states actually say number paths in the lower grades. Most say number lines. Although the research says you should be using number paths in kindergarten and first grade and pre-K. Why are number paths and lines so important is one of the questions that we will consider. What are 16 things that we can do with number lines to build number sense? The importance of number paths and number lines. The research says that it helps to build number sense and it's one of the roads to algebra. They help students to understand the meanings of numbers, their relationships to each other, and how we operate on them. Remember, counting is so important. There's so much research on counting, and that early childhood math is a predictor of what happens later in elementary, in high school, and even in life. So kids need to know how to count, and counting lays the foundation for early arithmetic, as we shall see. Counting is a main predictor of children's arithmetic competence, and number lines help children to do that. Counting is complex, and teachers should intentionally understand and teach not just the basics, but the advanced concepts of counting. Also, play, because you're going to notice a lot of things I talk about in here have to do with play. Play is an important vehicle for developing self-regulation, as well as for promoting language, cognition, and social competence. Play gives kids the opportunity not only to work physically with things, but also to understand and make sense of their world, to interact with others, to express and control their emotions, to develop their symbolic and problem solving abilities, and to practice emerging skills. Play is so important. It's not either play or learning, it's both and. Both are a part of a developmentally appropriate practice. It's what Seymour Papert calls the hard fun. You want kids playing together. Peer collaboration involves students in sharing problem solving strategies, expanding content knowledge, and producing comradeship between peers instead of competition. So we want playful learning, and we also want guided play where the teacher is leading students, engaging them in these kind of pleasurable and seemingly spontaneous activities that encourage academic exploration and learning. Teachers use guided play. Teachers using guided play have a set of learning goals in mind. So number paths, that's where we got to start with the little ones. Number paths help young children to explore and understand number relationships. So you might ask, what is a number path anyway? A number path is a visual model of numbers. It's a visual model of our counting system. It simply shows the order of the natural numbers. So it doesn't have decimals, doesn't have fractions, doesn't have zero. It's just the numbers that we count with. A number line is also a visual model in a straight line, but it's a measurement model. Number lines are placed at equal intervals along a given scale. And zero is the origin of the number line. And it extends in both directions. So kids are looking at positive and negative numbers and fractions and decimals and so forth. So the magnitude or size of the numbers is represented by their distance from zero on a number line. This can get tricky for the little ones because they get confused. They don't know if they're counting numbers, ticks, spaces. And so The research says, NCTM even has written about this, that we should be using number paths with little people in preschool and kindergarten because students are learning to count. The number line helps them to see numbers in relationship to each other. Number paths help students to develop an understanding of the order and the relative position of numbers. And so there's all this research that experience moving physically. So we're going to talk a lot about the physical things you can do on the number line. Sequence, physically moving numbers sequenced in a line helps children to get a mental model that they can always refer back to. So that's really important that kids are moving on the number line. Students internalize concepts when they're working on those number lines and number paths, such as near and far and more or less and after or one more or two more or how far away from. Students get to compare numbers, right, which is part of that comparing sequence. First, you compare by physically modeling it right together and then by counting on that number line. Oh, 7 is before 8, right? So it's less than 8, right? 9 is after 8, it's more than 8. And it also teaches kids all kinds of vocabulary. I really want to ground us in the NCTM representations model of visual, verbal, contextual, physical, and symbolic. As you'll notice, and we're going to play some games, that you can give things a context on the number line, that you can make number lines that are actually physically being held and manipulated with beads, that you're always building that language, that you're connecting it to the symbolic representations of the number, and it's visual, you see it. So it touches on all of the points. Remember, you're also really reinforcing when you're working on that number line, verbal counting. Clemens and Zarama note that fluent verbal counting is not rote. It is rather based on the recognition of the structure of numbers, the patterns, and those are revealed when kids really get to see those on the number path and the number line. I also want to just talk very briefly about Wright's trajectory of numeral development. Level 0 is emergent numeral identification. They're still having trouble with numbers 1 to 10. And then level 1 is numerals to 10. Level 2 is numerals to 20. Level 3 is numerals to 100. And level 4 is numerals to 1,000. I really believe it's important to have posters. And a lot of the stuff that I'm going to show you guys, I'm going to give you lots of resources. And these are some of them. A number path and a number line poster, right? So that the kids just can orient themselves on what's happening in the direction that they're going on the number path and number line. So here we see a number line and here we see a number path. And we see a segment of the number line in that first one. There's also a cardinality chart. Cardinality charts are really important. So in this cardinality chart, you see the numbers are above and then the representation is below. On Sparklebox, you can pull down a bunch of these that are, really cool and nifty. And these are just colorful. So 16 ideas. Number 1, you need life-size number paths. And so I got these. This is School is a Happy Place. These are all off my Pinterest boards. This is Plastificando Ilusiones. And this is one that I'm giving you guys, actually, that I made that has like the cartoon hands and the number and the dice. So you should have number lines that kids can walk on in their class, in your classroom. This one, my friend made me this one. It's a yoga mat, and you can write the numbers. And on one side, you write the numbers horizontally, and the other side vertically. So kids are seeing ladders and paths. And then you make human number lines, right? You should have the kids, you should do a lot of work with human number lines. And then you should have kids actually make number lines. This one is also posted on my Pinterest board. And this is the kids made this. They drew the pictures, they took pictures. You should have number lines that your kids have made with the representations of the number on them. This is from Mr. Elementary. He's got great stuff. You need to look him up. He's all over the place on Facebook and on lots of different things. And he has a vertical number line. And notice the kids have to figure out where the numbers go. They grab a number and they have to figure out where they go. You should absolutely have those in your classroom. And then this is another Mr. Elementary. This is for rounding. And then there's lots of playground math. And if you look at my Pinterest board on playground math, you'll see tons of pictures. I just wanted you to see that on your playground, you should have lots of pictures, right, of number lines. So the kids are constantly seeing them. This is number line mix up where you can get these numbers and then paste them on cards and then put them in a line and have the kids put them in order. And that picture is also on my Pinterest board. I'll give you a list at the end so that you can go and find all of these resources. At the Ready Number Idea too, at the Ready Number Path and Number Line Tools. So I'm giving you guys all of these. You need skip counting tools that are ready, like 2, 4, 6, 8, 3, 6, 9 for skip counting. These are skip counting and it has the hands. This is skip counting and it's by twos. This is skip counting, it's by tens. We actually corrected this. So, the one you get will not have a dime at zero. But you can see it has like this is counting by nickels. It has the nickels. This is counting by dimes. It has the dimes. This is a number path. The lady, a smiling teacher makes these and just hangs them up so they're accessible. You should have tools at the ready in your classroom. These should be part of students' toolkits. Number paths to 5, number paths to 10, and these are just fun. They're like animal number paths. Number paths where they can solve problems. These are number paths that you can make. You glue this one together and then they make a long number path that goes to 100. And then here's one where they make a long number ladder that goes to 140. Your kid should have these in their toolkits. I'm giving you guys these. Print them out. Put them in your kids' toolkits. All kids need toolkits. Gotta have toolkits. Gotta have number lines and number paths in your toolkits. Here's some more examples. Right? This is a number line and it has pennies. This is another fun number path. This is a number path that goes to 20 and they just glue it together. You're going to give it to your kids according to their grade. So here's another one that has number ladders and some of the other things that we talked about. Here's one. We just went on Amazon and got number stickers and then got a piece of paper and students make their own number lines. And so that's an easy way to make a number line so that they have their own number line that they've made and you can laminate it. Here's another one, the one that I'm giving you guys that you can download so you can put it together and kids have it. Kids need these. And see, what happens a lot of times is teachers will say, oh, they have that. It's on their desk, but they're not necessarily at their desk all the time. They need it when they're in the workstation. They need it when they're in the whole group. They need it when they're at the guided math group. Kids need number paths in their hands. And then, of course, you can do it out of, Ziploc baggies and the zipper keeps control, or you can do it even on a sentence strip and use a paper clip as the marker. And this is another one that I made out of stickers and it goes up to 20. And that's my version, another version of a plastic bag one. And I just took a little like a spinner and put it there to track as they go. And then you could put like also tools in here so they could, you could have some flashcards and some tools. So they pull a flashcard and then they act out the problem and then they actually build the problem. Okay. Here are some more number lines. This is the one that I told you that's a number ladder. This is really good for first and second. Um, Idea number 3, recognize numbers through poems, songs, and activities. So here is, I'm giving you guys this. This is just a set of poems for number writing, right? Because you want kids to be able to recognize numbers. This is another poem. This is by a teacher. But she talks about naughty numbers. And so I just like it. It's just a way to remember for kids to remember which way the numbers go. She says that 5 and 6 are the naughty numbers because they're just looking completely the other way. And 7, 8, or 9 are like, turn around. You're not facing the way we're supposed to be facing. And so it's just another way to remember, like, that 5 and 6 are going this way. Another one is like that 6 is a thumb number. 6 sits in your thumb, right? And and just that 6 sits, because kids get confused with 6 and 9. And idea number 4, use concrete tools. You got to use the beaded number line. Everybody knows I love the beaded number line. I wrote a book about the beaded number line. The beaded number line is great. And you should start with beaded number lines that go to 10 and then to 20 and then to 100. And on the beaded number line, you are counting. You're looking at one-to-one correspondence. You're looking at cardinality. You also could do some quick subitizing on the beaded number line. So we have cards and like, show me 5. And then the kids have to show 5 on the beaded number line. Show me 7. Show me 1 less than. Show me 2 more than. And they're physically doing it on the beaded number line. Idea number 5, number paths and number line riddles. So you give the kids a number path and then you say, number riddle number type 1 is find my number. I'm on the number path. I come right after 4, but before 6. What number am I? Or you could do hop, hop, hop. Then when he hops on the number path, he starts at 2 and hops 3 spaces forward. What number does he land on? Or you could play missing number mystery. Look at this number path. What number is missing? So you could have a number path, you cover it up with Post-its, and you ask the kids what numbers are missing. The number trap. I'm stuck between 7 and 9. What number am I? Right. So just really fun rules. Clapping. Clap on every number after 0. Clap, stomp, clap, stomp. Let's go. What number do you stop on if you clap every second number after, starting from 2, and so forth? So they're just little fun games that you can play with the number line, number path. Those are 5 fun games. Idea number 6, number path games. So this is super important. There's so much written about it. Number path games are really, really important because they teach students some of what we were talking about before. Oh, and they both start and then they go up the number path and they're like, "Oh, well, where's your friend? Is your friend ahead of you or is your friend behind you? Oh, you're on number 3. How far until 10, which is one of the kindergarten standards? Oh, you're on number 3. What number is before 3? What number is after 3? Oh, you rolled 2 more. Where will you land?" Right? Are you far from 10 or are you near 10? Right? So all of that language, and these are all number paths. So number path games go straight in a row. Now there are other games that go like curly cues and stuff like that, but these are number path games and they go straight in a row. And I'm going to give you some because I made lots of them so that you can play them with your kids. And so number path games should be linear numerical board games with square numbers from 1 on the left into 10 on the right. They can also be vertical with 1 starting at the bottom and going up. With intensive work with students playing these games, help students with numerical magnitude comparison, number line estimation, counting, and numeral identification. And all of this was written up on Young Mathematicians. Number path games. The board game should be in a line with consecutive numbers and equal sized spaces. As students are playing the game, they are moving the pieces, listening and saying the number names, looking and seeing the numbers, experiencing the distance on the number line. So super important. And then the teacher questioning is what matters, right? Which number did you start on? Which number did you land on? How far are you from where you started? Right. And so, continuing with that teacher questioning, how far to the school or the barn or the hoop? Who's closer to the school or the barn or the hoop? Who's farther away? By how much? What do you need to roll to land exactly on 5 or exactly on 10? They have number path games that go all the way up to 50. You want to play board games and math games because they provide students the opportunity to stretch their math muscles. So games are super important. That play. Remember that Mr. Rogers said that play, people think play is just, whatever, but play is serious learning for children. So there's a great deal of research on the type of board games that students should play. And one of those types should be linear numerical board games with squares, right? Number path games. And so that's just super important. One suggestion for counting games is to have the students roll the number and then count out that many counters on the board so that as they then jump that many spaces, they can keep track and they stop at the last space. Teachers can also make this a floor game where students can be the counter and walk the spaces. When playing a game, students are doing a lot of different things. So you'll notice if you Google young mathematicians, they have these huge floor games where kids are playing the games. Researchers have found that there is a great deal of complex thinking with these board games. Teachers just have to listen and learn while the students play the game. First, they have to count or subitize the dots, and then they have to move that many spaces by counting the jumps. You could also give them a number cube, so it's looking at number recognition. They are working on one-to-one correspondence. Muma points out that students have trouble because they count the space they are on as soon as one instead of moving and then counting. So the number path, when they're actually moving on that number path, it helps them to realize, oh, I've got to jump and then count. Students also get to work on that vocabulary that we were talking about earlier. And Reed and Young talk about supporting students' language by describing their moves on the board. So as they're moving, the teacher would say, oh, you started at 3. You jumped forward 2 spaces and you landed on 5. So you're modeling that language for the students. Students also get to work on vocabulary, right? And we've talked a little bit about that. Um, so, um, how far are you from where you started? How far to the lake, the carriage, the finish? Which number did you start on? Which number did you stop on? And here's another example of a game. Here's another example of the game. I bought these flowers. I saw this and then I bought these flowers on Amazon. And then I bought like little animals and the big dice, and the kids roll it and then they hop and they love this. So there's these jumbo number paths. And if you go to Young Mathematicians, you will see these jumbo number paths. Look at how big they are. And they have kids. You have to go to this website. There's tons of stuff all over this website. And there's all these jumbo board games. So you definitely, definitely want to go there and look at that. And then you want to use interactive number path games as well. I'm going to move this uh, picture of me. So you want kids to actually, let's see, you want kids to actually be moving on that number path. And these I'm giving you guys so you have them. I didn't want to just like show you a bunch of cool stuff and be like, oh, don't you wish you had what I had? No, I want you to have this and use it with your kids. So I gave you all the models for this. Kids love this. Again, it goes back to counting and to play. Because you say things like, oh, the monkey's on 5. How many more does he have to hop to get to 7? The monkey's on 5. He wants to go back to 2. How many hops does he need? The monkey's on 5. How far to 10? Right? So you can do all kinds of really fun things with the giraffe or the fish. And you put them on both sides so that when you're going backwards, you just flip it. And so they can go forward and they can also count backwards. Kids love these. And sometimes teachers make them bigger. I make them, they're just about hand size, these. Um, so like 8.5, I guess, across. And then there's this, and I'm giving you guys a sample of this as well. This is the frogs, and I have some rabbits, and I have a unicorn. And it's just the frog on the number path. I mean, on the number line. And then there are the little pieces that you use to, have the frog jump, and you can act out stories. And then there's cards, and the cards have the number. So you act it out on the number line, but you can then act it out in the lake. So remember that the problem solving practices say that you solve one way and check another. So you have them model it on the number path and the number line, and then you have them model it in the story map. Right. So this one they have to read, so you can read it to them. And then this one is just the equations. Here's another number line with the that has the the paper clip, and then this is has a spaceship. And this one has a beaded number line. These are easy to make. You just take a number line or a number pap and you put a bead because you want kids moving. That way they're not going 4, 5, right? They're going 4, and then 1 is 5, and then 2 is 6. Every kid should have something that they can move, right? And then this is a beaded number line at 10. It's just a pipe cleaner with the bigger, thicker beads. I like the bigger beads. And then here's a number tower one by Activity Mom. These are easy to make. Again, you can mix them all up and then the kids have to put them in the correct order. You got to go to Sparklebox because they have a bunch of number ladders and number lines. Um, and again, we're talking about interactive number lines, kids moving on the number line. And then I'm going to give you guys a couple of these. They're just puzzles. You just cut out the puzzle literally on tag, mix it all up, and then it's a puzzle, and they have to sequence it in the order of the numbers, and it's self-correcting. And then there's parking lot numbers. So, there's here are the people that do this, and this is on my Pinterest board. But you line the cars up, and then the kids have to, move the number line into the right order. All right, idea number 8, number paths, number lines, and counting collections. So you should really read the book because the book is fantastic. And you should do counting collections. Counting collections provide children with rich opportunities to practice oral counting, develop efficient counting strategies, group objects in strategic ways, record numbers, and represent their thinking. And so I included it in this presentation on number paths because one of the things that you want kids to do is you want them to, when they, a counting collection is a collection of things. And when they have those things, they have to count them and you give them ways to count them. So there's a bunch of counting collection papers, which I gave you guys, and posters, which I gave you guys. But one of the things is that you give them a number path and they lay it out on the number path. I'm talking about kids that are counting between 5 and 10 and 20, and then they can lay it out on the number path and the number line, and they can see how many things they have. Sequencing and ordering. You want students to build a robust and flexible sense of number. They should know and be able to discuss how 5 is more than 4 and 1 less than 6. The kindergarten standard is that they know how many more to 10, which we were talking about earlier. One way to practice this is on the number path. And so here again is like interactive number lines. In the imagination tree, they do a lot of rocks. And what's fun about rocks is you put that number on the rocks and you mix them all up, and then you have the kids sequence them, right? And you can also do it with Play-Doh, right? So you can also do it with popsicle sticks. So you're working on sequencing on that number line. I want you to notice that all of these things are easy. You can go outside and get some rocks, or you can order. They have like rocks that you can paint on from Amazon. I'm not trying to promote Amazon. I'm just saying that's where I get some stuff. Go to wherever you go to get rocks. And then this one is super easy. You just take Play-Doh and popsicle sticks, and you have the kids write the numbers on the popsicle sticks, and then they order those popsicle sticks. So that is very easy to do. And then it was simply literally a big popsicle stick and clothespins, right? And with missing numbers. I loved this as well. All of these things are pinned, so you can go right to the people that made them. I love this because it's got the number line right there, and then the numbers are all mixed up, and then the kids have to order it. So it's another way for ordering. And then here's a movable number line. This was the ABCs, but you can do this with actual numbers as well. So the point is that you want kids moving that number line. Here's one from Frugal Fun for Boys. And these are ladders. So a lot of people do them. They did them with Legos. You can get a Lego staircase because what this is really good for is it teaches kids the concept of as we go up the number line, the numbers get bigger. And as we go down the number line, the number gets smaller. And look at how beautifully you get to see that. Like when you have the wall or the staircase, they could see, oh, two is one more, and three is one more, and four is one more, right? And nine is one less, and eight is one less. So you really want to build those walls with kids. Here's an example, another example of the Play-Doh number line. What I love about this is you take all the sticks, you mix them up, you give them back to the child, and you say, okay, now put them in order. Remember, there's a difference between sequencing and ordering. So if I give a sequence is numbers that fall in the particular sequence, 1, 2, 3, 4, like that. But ordering is like, say I give the kids 23, 25, 15, 98. And I say, I want you to put it in order. And they have to put it in order, but it's not a sequence, but it's an order 15 and then 20 and then 30 and then 90. So you want to do both sequencing and ordering. This is another one of more and less. It's just a wall. So there's one and there's two and then three and then four, and it's growing. It's easy for kids to make these. And then you can talk. This is, like I said, really good for when you're talking about the idea of one more. And then finally, I wanted to show you this is a decomposing staircase. But it's the number and then it's all the ways that you can decompose it. So very interesting. What patterns do you notice about this? And what do you notice about the ways that you can decompose a number? Okay, idea number 10. Missing numbers, right, on the beaded number line. It's just so cool because you move over whatever the part is. So you have 7 plus 3 and you only have 10 beads on the number line. Then you move 7 over and you see, oh, you have 7 plus what equals 10. You see, oh, it's 3 left. Or you have 10 plus what equals 10. Well, you move 10 over and you see, oh, there's none left. And then these cards, you fold them. So they're like flashcards. So the question is on the front and then you flip it and the answer's on the back. I'm going to give you some of those. And then this, I really love this. I saw this from where the first graders are. You draw the lines and then you do the beaded number line, but now you're solving the problem in the circles, and it's great for missing number. Say, I know this is 10. Well, if I move 6 here, I could see that this has to be 4, right? So I love that. And this is some more of the missing number stuff. This is more missing number. Now, I want you to see lots of different ways to play around with that on the number line. Number 11, teen numbers. Teen numbers get to be tricky for kids. They omit numbers, they repeat numbers, they skip numbers. They usually, oftentimes, will say numbers like instead of 19, they'll say 90. They mess up the 12s. We think the research says they confuse the TW sound. 12 and 20, 13 and 15, because they're based on ordinal numbers, third and fifth instead of cardinal numbers, 3 and 5. They struggle with 11 and 12 because they don't reference cardinal or ordinal. And, it just gets confusing for kids. So you got to work on those teen numbers. Teen numbers are read spoken from right to left, while other numbers are not. So when 16 is spoken, one hears the sound of 6 before the teen part. And so students will often write 61. They'll write what they hear first, 6 teen, and then they'll say, oh, there's a 1, so they'll put the 1. That's why you see kids writing 61. Also 71. When you say 17, they'll write the 7, and then they'll be like, oh, there's a 1. They'll put 71 instead of 17. So watch that when you're doing teen numbers and point that out when you're working on number paths. And you should have a beaded number line to 20. Braining Camp has beaded number lines to 20. And working with teen numbers, remember the research says that you should have anytime you're working with the two-digit number, Ginsburg said this, you should have the tens in one color and the ones in another color. And that you should write it like that and that it should match however you're modeling it. And then this is just a painter stick and clothespins. I want you to notice I haven't gone out and bought a bunch of really expensive materials to do this number line stuff. This is stuff you can go to the grocery store and get, right? This stuff you can go to the 99-cent store and get. And then this is Christina Costa. You got to check out her stuff. I mean, the woman is brilliant. She has tons of number line stuff. A lot of it is free. And she builds these big number lines and does all this number line math. So I just wanted to give a shout out and say, check out her number line stuff because your kids need these number lines hanging in the classroom where they can do that work. Here's another example of a hanging number line. And notice how they did this one with the decades in different colors. Here's some other number lines. People always say, we don't have any real estate. Well, you look at this. They hung it underneath the smartboard. So that's a way to do it. And so I just wanted to show a bunch of hanging number lines. This is Smitten with first grade. Hang those numbers lines up. Change the color during the decade. Here's sticky number lines where they're taping them up. Adding and subtracting on the number line to 20. Idea number 12. Represent addition situations, represent subtraction activities. So we're going back to contextual and representing part whole situations. So solve with your beaded number line. 4 ladybugs and 2 ladybugs, right? Or solve with your movable number line, right? And then I'd shown you this a little earlier. This is where you have the 2 circles and the kids actually acted out right there in the circles. So they're modeling missing number because this beaded number line only goes to 10. You could also poke holes and tape it in the back, but this beaded number line only goes to 10. So I'm going to do missing number problems to 10 and kids are going to be able to figure them out because I'm scaffolding it. Eventually take it away. This is 1 to 3. I mean, this is one with 3 numbers, first grade standard, right? So 1 plus 5 plus 4. And I could easily write, you can have these on cards and they just flip different cards. You could have 1 plus what plus 4 equals 10. And then, more problems. 4 ladybugs plus 3 butterflies. Notice I've kind of put it in rebus almost. And then I'm giving you guys these. These are just number line flashcards. So the flashcard, the number line's right there on the flashcard. You don't have to use it, but you can. So the scaffold is there. Those are subtraction. These are 10 friends. And I saw this from Inclusivamente. It's an Italian site. And I thought this was just really interesting to put the plus and minus. And they teach the kids, they teach up to 2-digit addition with this and another thing. So check out Inclusivamente. But this is easy to make. And for those kids that are just having trouble, going up and down the number line, this is a great way to scaffold. If we're going this way, we're adding, right? And if we're going this way, we're subtracting, right? So I really liked that. Subtracting on number paths, I want you to notice here's the flashcard and the number paths on the flashcard. This one also is working on strategy, trying to get kids to think addition, which is a strategy that's actually written in the standard. And then getting kids to think about when you're subtracting numbers that are within 1 and 2 neighbor numbers. So what is 9 minus 8? What is 9 minus 7? What is 5 minus 4? What is 5 minus 3? You want kids to notice the proximity and you want them to then imprint that so that mentally they imprint that and then they know, oh, what is 15 minus 14? They sit side by side. The difference is 1. Right. So doing that kind of strategy work on the number lines. Introduce the beaded number line to 20 and then, do problems within 20. Idea number 13, skip counting on the number line. So You want to use that big beaded number line to skip count, on the number line. This is just an example. This is a card. They pick it up and then they use their beaded number line to skip count. Show the number line in different numbers in different ways. So you might, if you have that big beaded number line, you're like, show me 54, 5 tens and 4 ones, show me 54. 4 tens and 14 ones, show me 54. 3 tens and 24 ones. So building like flexibility, also comparing numbers, also looking at tens and ones on that beaded number line, right? And then there's some skip counting number line stuff. Skip counting by 10s, skip counting by 25s. Remember that Bay Williams and San Giovanni talk about the importance of skip counting by 25s. That kids need to understand their 25s, and their 10s and their hundreds. And so I just made a bunch of skip counting number lines. Skip counting, by the different things that they need to skip count by, and then showing you what that looked like. This is where the first graders showing you skip counting on the beaded number line so kids can see. Because oftentimes kids think they're just chanting. You want to show them that you're counting an amount and you're counting it in groups, and it's a faster way of counting. So 5, 10, 15, 20, 10, 20, 30. They should see the amounts. Even when I'm skip counting with little kids, I'll do it like on a rec and rec so they can see 10, 20, 30, 40, because in kinder you're supposed to skip count by tens to 100. And so um, I love the beaded number line. I think there's a million things you can do on it. I wrote a book about it with my friend Allison. The beaded number line is just the way to go. And this is a video. If you Google Dr. Nikki beaded number line, I did a bunch of videos because I think it's like one of the best tools that ever existed. More beaded number line stuff. Count by ones to 100 and then by tens. Count forward from any number. Um, TES test has a bunch of beaded number line paper template where you can do, different things. And they have lesson plans and stuff. Composing numbers on the beaded number line, composing, one more, one less, 10 more, 10 less. It's all just such great stuff that you can do on the beaded number line. Here's some examples. Saddle Up for second grade has an example of where they're putting in the base 10 blocks and doing the count. So, because open number lines are hard for kids. And this just shows scaffolds. How do you scaffold up and back, right? You want to scaffold so kids can see. And then the number, and then the clocks. You want to, you can go on here and I'll put the link so that you guys can go to her site. And she's already made the clock. It's free. You download it. And then when you're trying to teach kids that we count by fives, don't just tell them that because that's abstract. Build it on the number line, because what you can do is you could show it on the number line and you can build the number line out so that they have that 60 beaded number line to tell time, right? And count by fives. And then you build it out on an elapsed time clock where they can then begin to see the numbers. And then in third grade, they're going to do it on an open number line. But you see how we have scaffolded up into that. 16. We are here at Idea 16. Energizers on the number line. You want to do energizers. Those are fraction energizers. What could this number be? Right? What could this number be? Notice how the number changes. If this is 10,000, what is this? If this is 1,000, what is this? If this is 500 and 1,000, if this is 0 and 1,000, what is this? These are just great games. You should do them once a week with your kids. Some of this stuff is adapted from Gareth Metcalf. If you don't know him from IC Maths, you got to check him out. Just wonderful, brilliant stuff. What could the start and the end numbers be if this is the number? What number could this be? Right, energizers on number lines. You should definitely do them. So when we can see it, we can talk about it. And when we can talk about it, we can try to do it. And when we can try to do it, we can talk about it. And then when we can talk about it, we can try to do it. And then we can see it and we can understand it. And so on, and so on, and so on. So you want to get number lines in the hands of your kids, beaded number lines and number lines that they make and number lines that you make and number lines, number lines, number paths here, there, and everywhere. Your kids need number lines and number paths. Thank you for spending some time with me. This is your road to happy, the happy place. There are lots of really fun things that you can get out of that box. And you have to have an action plan. What's one thing you learned? What's one thing you will do right away? What's one question you have? And thank you for working with me today. Here's some books that talk about some of these things. And here is my information. Stay in touch. Thank you.